Yeah, it is. Ready?
Nice.
You ready?
Let's go.
Okay, thank you. Welcome, Elizabeth, to our conversation. Thank you so much for accepting this invitation and to be part of this conversation. This year has been very intense for everyone, and especially for people who do live in the US. How do you feel today?
So today I'm expecting, I think I'm in this expecting feeling, but I feel super motivated, first of all, to be here, to be able to just chat about what is going on in the world, what is going on in education. I feel super grateful to be with my family right now. And I'm excited. I'm a morning person, so I usually wake up with great energy.
That's great. So for those who are listening to us and don't really know Elizabeth that well, Elizabeth has been living in the US for almost 2 years, right?
Yeah, it's going to be 2 years in January.
So, and for those who do not know Elizabeth that well as well, they aren't aware that she's very passionate about education, and education is pretty much a part of you and is part of your core, and it's your dream as well. So, I wanted if you could just share with us a little bit about this dream and tell us as well, how did you get to the US? How did you get to where you are today? Can you just share a little bit of that with all of us?
Yeah, sure. So education for me, it's one of the best approaches in a society. I think is when I remember myself while I was a student, and I totally see the partnership between the school, teachers, and my parents. I spent the whole time there, almost the whole time there, and I just felt so supported that thank God I could be in an environment that was positive, that I could grow, that I build my confidence, my self-esteem. So I've realized how education can impact lives, can impact our confidence, can impact our dreams. And I've just realized it became a passion to how we can improve this industry or this segment. How can we help other students to feel happier while they are there, and how we can help teachers because they are heroes totally, to spend all of these hours with empowering our students. And it became a passion because of that. Uh, I started Microsoft as an intern in education, and I think it was when I felt that my passion could be aligned with my career. I discovered that because I didn't realize by the time that Microsoft had this segment. And then it was a glimpse of what Microsoft is doing in this industry. I loved it. Then I spent 2 years working with support engineers that I became much more, it was really challenging because it was not my natural fit. I'm from business. So for me, it was really important to be 2 years with a great team and learn how to be more logical, how to be better problem solving, having this skill, how to work under pressure because customers were talking about some complex issues or technical problems that they have, and how to stay positive and stay calm and work with really challenging environment because of that, because of the scope of the work. And I believe that I became a little bit more technical, still hard, and work with other people that actually have different skills that I usually do. So I'm more marketing, business, and being surrounded with other engineers. They really helped me to grow this part. And then after 2 years, I've realized that I would like to back to education, to back to marketing. Um, and I started to drive my conversations and to drive my network to the headquarters. It's interesting because usually I saw myself more in Europe, and then I've realized because it's more strategic to see myself at the headquarters. And I just tried it. I think it was not an individual path because I had a lot of help from friends and colleagues to prepare for the interviews, to have different tips. to have to brainstorm together. So I felt it was like a group work for this job position, and yes, and then I could apply myself to that job, have some interviews that I could learn even inside of the interviews that my passion was really that. And yes, and then I moved to US 1.5 years ago. Now it's almost 2 years ago.
It's quite interesting that you touched the the fact that when you started at Microsoft as an intern, you weren't aware of the fact that we are actually working with education. And I think this conversation will be very useful for other people that, as you, have this passion about education, but only associate education to either being a teacher or doing university work. They really, I think, it's very difficult sometimes to actually realize that you can work in education outside of a school. So I think this conversation will resonate with a lot of people. And talking about education, and this year ended up being very different than most people were expecting. A lot of people had so many plans. I had my own plans, my own holidays plan, and then it went to dust. And I do believe as well 2021 won't be that different, unfortunately. So how was 2020 for you? And take into account the distance, the COVID challenges, and as well the racism protests that you lived in the US. How was it, all of this for you?
So, I mean, it was pretty challenging, that's for sure. I think for me it was really trying to understand everything that was how the things evolve, either in racism, either COVID situation, being alone, had to digest that information and try to understand how to affect that, how to affect my mental health, how to affect me. So first of all, I think it was a really challenging year because of that, because I have to deconstruct, decode myself with new concepts of working. I'm a really social person. And all of a sudden, it was me and my computer, and having, of course, the opportunity to talk with colleagues and friends digitally, but it's not the same thing. So had to adapt myself to that reality, to be 24 hours with myself in the first months was really, really hard. First of all, because I'm a really social person, I was not really used to be with me that amount of time. So that, I think, it was an advantage, because I could grow a lot my self-conscious, my self-awareness of what I like to do, what I don't like, what make me sad, what make me happy. I could pause more. I think it was a year for me that I've realized that I was, I think all of us maybe were under stress and in a rhythm that maybe it's not the rhythm that we wanted for our lives, what I would like to prioritize. So I think all of that reflection for me was really, really important. The challenge part was, of course, to see, wow, we have a pandemic in the world, just an invisible virus that it's here, and how we impact each other. That actually was, and how our life has been impacted. It was something super surprising. The other thing with racism, to be honest, made me sad, because I was taught in my family that I'll be judged by my character, I'll be judged by the way that I interact with others. It's my responsibility how I treat the others, and I should treat everyone really well as a human. So it's really, and of course, I was taught that this is my skin color, and I love my skin color, to be honest, because it's part of me. But it's another characteristic, right? Like, I'm a woman, I'm a Black person, I like to do this or I dislike that. So it's part of me. It's not the thing. And for me, it's really sad to see that it's an ongoing conversation, right? Like, it's still in 21st century, we still have this conversation. And it's sad because it shows that there are some people that are criticizing or talking about someone or seeing someone just by the color and not by the behavior or not by the values that this person has. So I think it's sad to see that. Of course, it is challenging to digest some of the pictures that we saw through this year. At the same time, I would like to see some evolution, because it's something that it's still ongoing, right? I'd like that my kids will not face a world that is still racism exists. But at the same time, I think the good part, if there is a good part, is there is a conversation out there. So people are, again, decode themselves when people see these pictures. I believe, or I hope, that people can decode themselves and see, wow, what is my behavior? What do I believe?
Mm-hmm.
Is there room for improvement?
Yeah.
Can I do better? So having this conversation so loud and globally, starting in US and then spread it globally, I think it's really important because it's an opportunity for everyone. Check ourselves, try to do better, listen what people are suffering. I think that is super important. And I do believe and I hope that this can create bridges for something better. I would say.
It's quite interesting because 2020 has been very challenging in so many ways, having to basically shift everything we do and do differently and not being able to do the things we were. So we're here in the UK back to lockdown. So it's something that we get challenged and we don't know when this is going to end. So however, we can just procrastinate and sit in the negativity of the year, or we can leverage this year to and pick up the positive things and the goodness of the year, which sometimes is very difficult to find, but there's some positive parts of this year. So what do you see that was the positive thing of 2020? And looking forward, hopefully 2021, I believe is going to be very similar to 2020, but maybe to a world after COVID in 2022. How do you feel that what we live today is going basically to impact our world of tomorrow?
So I think, first of all, it's a personal choice. I think if there is positive outcomes, it's the way that people see the situation. And sometimes it's really hard, as you were just saying. I want to believe that, at least for me, having this moment that you have to stay home, this virus can create this problem and all of this negative impact. I think I've realized how impactful my attitude or my behavior can affect others. So I think, first of all, the good thing for me was a good reminder that my interactions, the way that I behave, the way that I'm in life can impact, of course, in this disease, can impact others directly. But it's a good reminder that actually how our actions, how our behavior impacts in different areas, different scopes. So I would say this is the first thing for me that was really good. This mental health concept that we have been talking for so many years, I think this year, at least for me, gained a really huge attention because you see how a reality can impact you. And because we are not in this crazy rhythm, we really have the time to see, wow, this is real. This not having the social activity, not having our, as you were saying, like your dreams and not having all of that and just waiting. It's something that really challenged us in a mental way, I think, more than ever. So for me, it was really bring this concept of mental health more than ever, to pay attention, to understand better the concept, to pay more attention to the others, pay more attention to the ones around me and the ones that I can impact. And I would say the third thing was really this having this moment, having this time to understand myself more, to really check myself, to have more self-awareness that with that freedom would be a little bit impossible, to prioritize the time, see that time is so valuable, and now that we cannot have those social connections as we used to be, I really prioritize the time with whom I want to, when it's possible, with whom I want to be. How much time do I give to my family that I love? How much time do I give to my friends that I love? What are the people that I want to that I want to include in my life, and what are the others that that bring some don't create this positive impact or something like that, or how do I interact with others? Again, I think the self-awareness, because the rhythm it was reduced, we really can pay attention to ourselves. And even when the rhythm that I hope one day will come back, I think that all of these reminders we can really bring them to when we will not have the pandemic. I hope soon. I think they're reminders that will still ongoing process for ourselves, let's say.
And how do you feel the world will look like after this? I know that I hope people learn something from this year and a half, and I really hope that they take this self-awareness and this attention to detail, and maybe this attention that the world is not just my own and there's other people around me. But how more do you feel that the world might change after all of this?
Well, I really don't know how the world is going to look like. I think there were good learnings in terms of health, for example.
Mm-hmm.
The way that the restaurants now present their menus with QR codes, or wearing masks, or ourselves like taking better strategies to not have the virus, the way that we communicate. I think there are good things, like we can readjust ourselves to prevent something like that. I think that the technology aspect was something that really, I think some companies pushed the technology revolution, and it helped a little bit being digital, having to be digital. Education as well, the way that interacts. I'm just afraid how we are going to interact as humans, how this is going to affect in the future, that I don't know how it's going to change. But I think there were some requisites that now in the pandemic it's needed, that maybe it's going to be useful for the future.
You just touched an interesting topic, like the impact of technology, and how, not that we weren't dependent on technology before, but is more relevant now more than ever, especially because a lot of people had to go remote. And Microsoft has been working heavily with the education sector, especially as well for this present classroom to virtual classroom shift. So can you just elaborate and explain to the common human beings, what do you do on a day-to-day basis?
So as Microsoft really trying to know how the industry education, what are the challenges that our teachers have, our students have, and try to make sure that technology is an enabler. So it's not going to replace the teacher or the student, but it's going to help to bring scale to the actions of the teacher, to save them time, to make them focus on the instruction time, which they love to do. To bring an inclusive classroom. So usually what we do in marketing is really to understand how our customer, what are the challenges that they have, work with the engineering team to know how, and the engineering team is doing a fantastic work to improve our products to really help this audience, education audience, by this time. We did that before, but now I think it's much more agile. It has to be much more agile because there are constantly needs and challenges. And I think marketing, what we do is really try to help our customers to understand better our products in an easier way, with easier messaging, so they can understand better what we are trying to transmit with this product, how this product can help in terms of benefits, how this product can help in the school, teachers, students, bring content for them to provide this readiness, how they can be more prepared, and how they can use our technology. So I think marketing is it's really to bring why this is for me, right? And really showing in different digital events, contents, campaigns, messaging, what Microsoft Education, how Microsoft Education is trying to help. So it's really a partnership between sales, marketing, and engineering to bring the best as we can for our customers.
And how did you see schools evolving from around February time to today? But this is like still ongoing. So how do you see this, the challenges and the evolution of education throughout these months? But also looking at the future, how do you see this change evolving?
So I see that I saw that schools were really brave. They really had a huge challenging for, as we were having this face-to-face classroom, physical classroom, where you can engage with your students face-to-face, when you can teach face-to-face, to have this concept shift for a digital world right now, hybrid world. Um, but but I think it was really challenging to have to come from this physical environment to have a digital environment. So they evolve in terms of how I'm going to teach my students digitally, how I'm going to engage my students digitally, how I'm going to make sure that that specific student that I used to talk every day, how can I interact and maintain the student engagement? So I think that what I see schools doing was really to embrace technology as something that will help them to connect, to interact with their students. But again, it's hard because and it was hard even for us working all of a sudden digitally. It's really to have a concept in your mind you are used to do in a certain way, and teaching in a certain way, and move to a digital concept. So I see that schools were impressive because they were like able to be ready to teach in that environment and see how technology could help. And I see the same trend right now. We have schools that are using hybrid models, so they have digital or physical, depends the countries that we are talking about. But I see that they see a technology really part of the teaching experience. Mm-hmm. I think we see that nowadays learning, it's beyond the classroom. So it's inside of the classroom, but it's also at home. We see a strong partnership between schools, parents, teachers, students, to make sure that the student is prepared for the future. Teachers really have to partner with parents, because parents will help in this experience at home, right? How their kids or their students will be using technology, how they will make sure that we're doing the homework or they were coping with the education experience, partnering with teachers on that. I think that I saw a lot of partnership in that sense, and see how technology could bring that.
Mm-hmm. Technology has been definitely great to build that bridge in a world of uncertainty. I definitely see a few challenges, and I've even working with customers and even with my peers, where they still have to work and still have to make sure that their kids are paying attention to the teacher in their computer. And I can see how challenging this can be for the environment, for the students and for the teachers. And can you just explain and elaborate a little bit more on the role of the technology in this conversation? I know we're talking about making a bridge between the teacher and the student in this virtual world, but there will be a role of technology, hopefully, when the student is back full-time to the classroom. So where do you see technology playing different roles, take into account different scenarios?
Sure. So I see, even before pandemic, after the pandemic, I think that what schools want, I guess, it's prepare students for the future. And in order to prepare them for the future and have this experience of learning positive, they have to feel included. They have to feel heard. Teachers have to have time to have this personalization approach, because every student is incredibly unique. The way that they talk, the way that they learn, the way that they consume information, the way that they express their opinions. They are students, for example, they have accessibility challenges like dyslexia, for example. And the school or the classroom has to be ready for all of these challenges. Myself, for example, I'm from Portugal. English is not my native language. So if I'll be student in US or any other foreign country, I'll feel actually the language challenge. So how I could feel more included and more engaged to learn. Mm-hmm. Having this personalization approach requires a lot of time that it's impossible for a human being to do without any tool. So I think here, for example, technology plays a really important role to bring scale to teachers' actions, to bring this, and I'll give an example. When we have, for example, students who have dyslexia, and you are giving to them a Word document to read to the whole class, please read this Word document. Maybe me or you who don't have dyslexia will read that document in a certain minutes, or it will not be that hard to focus ourselves, or maybe I'll be tired and it'll be super hard for me to concentrate and to see that Word document. Someone who has dyslexia, or someone who doesn't understand English as a native language, let's say, would have a challenging experience by reading that Word document. So we developed something which is, for example, through technology, which is immersive reader. You just click a button and all of a sudden that Word document is adapted to someone that have challenges to concentrate, adapt to someone that is color blinded, for example, adapt to someone that doesn't have the native language, and it can translate in real time. It can have the focus, the line focus. I don't know if you remember that we have that square. So just with one click, you can put in the hands of the student, in the hands of the teacher, that possibility without stigmatizing. You are not saying to that student, look, you need extra help because English is not your native language. You need extra help because you cannot concentrate. So you're giving this chance to say, if you need help, you can click here and you can have the experience adapt to your own challenges. Of course, that student will feel much more engaged, much more motivated to learn, because technology brings the tools that they need to adapt to their own situation. I'll give you another example. We had, for example, I don't know if you remember, when you have in the board and you'll have extra work for Carolina, Elizabeth, and Peter. Like the ones that you'll have this extra work because I see that you are feeling that you have challenges in this part of this area, and I feel that you need this extra homework or this extra attention. With just one button, you can have teachers clicking on assignments and tailor the content, tailor the homework, saying, okay, Peter, Carolina, and Elizabeth are going to have this specific assignment. And I'll tell you what, no one in the classroom knows. Exactly. Just the person that will receive that assignment will know that has this assignment. So again, it's not stigmatizing. So these were just two examples. The third example I'd like to bring is the data. We have some features in our product that bring data to the teachers, how the student is interacting. Even digitally, in a digital world now, more than ever, you don't see your students face to face. Is Carolina posting in the conversations in Teams? Is Carolina doing their assignments? How long Carolina is delivering the assignment? How long do I deliver feedback? So all of that brings a lot of data that students and teachers can really, or in this case, teachers can really adapt the instruction time to this specific person, to this specific student. So I think that is two different examples that I brought to you, just to give you the concept that technology is an enabler. Technology brings data in hands of the teachers, helps teachers to have more time for the instruction time, And I feel that helps to engage better with the students and feel students more motivated.
It's quite interesting, this point, these examples you just gave, because I remember, like, when I was at school, people who, and even I have a cousin who's a teacher, and people who have special needs are kind of on the spot in the classroom. They're the special, they're the special kid of the classroom, and it can be challenging because even if a student wants to be better, they're already labeled in the beginning of the year, this is a special kid. And I think with technology, you don't need to label out loud that this is the special kid and has special requirements. Do that in a silent way. Only the teacher knows this, and the student, and the teacher is working towards that student without putting the person on the spot. Because I do feel like when you're labeled, and I think we live in a world of labels. This person is black, this person is white, this person has dyslexia, and taking that label out, I think pushes people forward and towards success. And this is quite interesting to see that perspective, how technology is basically ripping those labels out and basically bringing people up towards success. It's quite interesting to see that. And we talked about the role of technology. What will be the specific role for a student and the specific role for a parent and for a teacher in this new
Well, I'll give you my personal perspective. I think, and again, I just gave you some examples of technology, but there are others, and technology really helps to bring scale, I would say. I think the role of the teacher is the teacher will be always important in a classroom, in my opinion, because it's you can learn, like, there is a democratization of education. You can learn content in so many different platforms, but I think in school it's a social experience. When you can learn content, you can develop skills that will be useful for the future. You can interact with others, learn how to interact with others, learn how to communicate, learn how to discover the world that you live in and how you're going to apply all of these competencies in the future. So again, we are really different. We are really unique. And I think the teacher is important to drive this learning experience, to understand what the student need, what the other student need, how I'm going to make sure that the student is motivated, how I'm going to create space for the student express him or herself, how I'm going to drive the assessment, how, like, create challenges for the student to learn, right? So I think learning, for me, it's a really social experience and a really interesting experience that it's important to be drive by someone that can motivate. And I remember my teachers, and they were the ones saying, you can do this. They helped me to bring my self-esteem, really. They helped me to develop my confidence when I cannot do this, I cannot learn. No, you can. Let's try again. Okay, you have this challenge that we call it homework. You have this challenge to see how you can actually apply your knowledge that we learn all together, and you're going to apply to this challenge, and we'll see. So I think it creates excitement. I think teachers really create the excitement of learning and really can have attention of what they have in front of them. All of these students, they want to learn, they want to grow, and how you drive that experience. I think teachers are, and even to deliver feedback, right? Elizabeth, I think you can improve this, or maybe here you have to improve this a little bit. So I think it really provides feedback and create this confidence on a learning experience. That, of course, the role of a mother or father, it's, I mean, through the life, it's extremely important, because it's really how we see the world, how we see ourselves. Of course, it's not just in the classroom, it's throughout our life. And of course, family is the most important thing. In this learning experience, I totally see, for the success of the student, the partnership between parents and school, teachers, school leaders, all of the school environment. I totally see that partnership to make the learning experience, because you can, if you have a great learning experience in the classroom that cannot extend to you at home, right? You are limiting the experience. For the student, I would say the role of the student is really take the opportunity of learning and take the opportunity to be at school. I think the students, it's impressive sometimes when I talk with younger generations, or even with my siblings that are younger than me, and see how interesting when they feel heard and when they express their opinion. I've learned so much. So I think it's really they want to learn and they want to grow. And when they see themselves treated in a special way, special in a unique way, when they have opportunity to engage and collaborate with themselves, when they have the opportunity to express their opinion, to bring creativity, I think even for the teacher, it's exciting experience to see, oh my gosh, they are so creative. They this group work, they collaborate, they bring more knowledge to the classroom, right? So I see the role of the student with that.
It's quite interesting because you touched that with the democratization of education, the school is a place where you can gather knowledge, academic knowledge from books, but it's also a learning experience in a social perspective. And we were discussing this like when we were preparing these meetings, that school is a hub for exchange knowledge, for social learning, for academic book learning as well. And I do see the school of today evolving towards a space where we don't have that locked structure where you have at 9 math, at 10 English or Portuguese, depending on the country where you're at, to a place where we can live this hub type of experience. So if we want to move to a concept where there's not a fixed method because each student is different, what do you think or believe that we need to start doing to start walking slowly towards that idyllic place?
I'm not sure if I understood your question, sorry.
So I mean, this school of the future, what do we need to start doing today to achieve this dream of school of the future?
So I don't know how the school of future is going to look like. I think we have great learnings from this pandemic experience. The agility that schools have to have, the preparation for other challenges that will come. We know for sure that we are preparing students for the future. So it's something that you have to understand how the future world is developing. What are the skills that the students need to be ready for that world? So I think that discussion in terms of what are the competences that we have to include in the school program, for example, that be updated with what the students will face. That is something super important. That's why, for example, STEM is so important. That's why communication, collaboration, social emotional, the social emotional learning experience are so important to really to prepare the students for the future world. The second thing I would say that this customization approach, and that's why I think technology really plays a really important role. It's really important. Not assume that every student is exactly the same, one size fits all. So this customization or personalization approach is extremely important to make the student feel engaged and motivated to learn. So in order to be successful, to have student actually excited to learn, the student has to feel included with their own challenges. So that I think it's something that the school of the future, or now, it's something that is extremely important. The other thing is having the space to develop those skills that we were talking. Even that the teachers have a program that they have to teach content, but there are so many different ways that they can explore other competences that is actually not detach one thing to the other, right? That is this opportunity to develop experience and provide feedback. I think it's really a partnership between student and teacher in order to the student feel engaged and heard. It's really important to have tools for them to shine and express their. For example, we have a platform, Flipgrid, which is great, that kind of brings a democratization of the voice in the classroom. So the voice of the classroom, sometimes it's just with I don't know, the not shy people will be the ones that raising hand. They are confident enough to do that. And this platform, for example, Flipgrid, gives an opportunity for everyone to express with short mini videos to express themselves. And you don't have to be shy or really confident to say it. Everyone opportunity, or everyone has are developing the oral skills that they need. So I think that it's extremely important that the student feel heard and feel engaged with the classroom. And of course, for the teacher, provide feedback. I think that it's something really important for the student to understand how they can engage, and it's really a partnership. We heard some teachers, for example, saying that now we have rubrics, which is something that it's like to bring some transparency to the evaluation assessment situation. When you have, okay, you are going to have this grade. If you're going, what are the requisites to have this grade or that grade? So it's interesting that sometimes students and teachers partner together to know what is the rubric that is going to be for that grade. And then students are really engaged because they're, oh, I know that I have to do all of these requisites to have that specific grade. So I feel that's really a partnership. Teachers learn a lot with the students learn a lot with the teachers, and teachers are driving that experience. So I think that partnership, with the whole school environment plus parents, it's what makes a student feel more excited to learn, I would say.
It's amazing. It's amazing everything that you just shared with us. I wish, not that I liked school, but I gotta say I wasn't the person who loved going to school every day. However, I can see that this approach would have fit myself better. I think I would have felt more comfortable with going to school every single day in an approach like this. We're hitting our time. It has been but before we conclude our conversation, I just wanted to have make a 5 very quick questions, and this one is about yourself, not about education. Just to lighten a little bit the mood, and for people as well to get to know a little bit of what's going in your head. So for the first question of the last 5 is, what you wish to have time to do what? You don't have enough time to do what?
Right now, I feel pretty balanced because, again, I've learned a lot how to manage my time. I think there's still time to be with friends and family. I think it's not always enough. I don't know how to explain. I just love to be with them, and I wish to have much more time. But again, it's my responsibility to manage my time better. So it's something that I have to continue to pursue to be much more with them.
Second question, and for people who are not from Europe, we have here this thing called Euro Millions, where basically every week you get loads of money. So if you by any chance won Euro Millions or won a hell lot of money, what would you do with that money?
It's a tough question because I really don't think that I'm going to win this prize. But I would say, of course, to help my family, to help institutions that I do believe, of course. But like a dream that I have, it's really to build a school with all of these learnings that I'm learning so much every day in my daily job, and to have a school with, as you were saying, like to make sure that people feel included and happy and all of that. I'd like to build that school. And I would like to have an agency with artists that are starting, like musicians or artistics. I don't know how to say, painting. I'd like to have that because it fascinates me how to be an artist, you have to be so brave to expose yourself through music or through a painting or something like that. So I'd like to get more by this field, so I'll have this agency.
Amazing. What do you like the most outside education? Outside education.
Outside education, when you say love the most, is a thing that I love?
Can be a hobby, can be a person, anything.
Okay. What I love the most, of course, it's my family. I'm not going to lie, but something that I like a lot is music. I love to go to concerts. I miss a lot, but I love I love to discover new artists and really listen to good music. For me, it's really the thing.
And what do you dislike the most?
I dislike a lot non-empathetic people. People who can people who cannot really, you cannot even have a conversation because they cannot even see the place of other person. And that, of course, this is a problem that causes a lot of different problems, as you're saying, like racism and all of those. So I hate rude and non-empathetic people.
And it's quite interesting because empathy, with this hub, educational hub that we're talking about, empathy, I think, is something that if is developed well in the school environment, you can make humans and people more empathetic. And I think we live in a world where I don't know what happened to empathy, but I just gone. So I think that's I really resonate with that one quite a lot. And, and finally, can you share with us a thing that no one or almost no one knows about you?
I would like to, usually I don't have many secrets, to be honest, really simple person, but I would like to be a band manager. I think it's something that people don't know about me. If one day I would like to be a band manager.
Band manager.
I think that people don't know about me. I don't know. It's something that I don't say that often.
Actually, and you're definitely in the right place because Seattle is the hub for music. And hopefully we'll come back to that space again.
Have to be patient.
And that's it. Wasn't that difficult, was it?
It was not. I mean, still nervous, but thank you so much for the invitation. I hope that this conversation will be useful and helpful. And I hope to see you face to face one of these days. Wish you the best luck in your lockdown. And thank you again.
I will definitely see you in 2021. I'm just coping for weeks, going for Christmas back home, and then I'm like, I'm out. I don't care.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.